Hey guys, I hope that you guys are doing amazing wherever you are in the world. My name is Boom Shikha, as always, and I'm welcoming you to the channel. If it's your first time here, I hope that you enjoy my videos. If you've been here for a long time, thank you for your support. And if you want to support me further, you can do that by going to my Patreon or Ko-fi link. They're both in the description below. In this video, I wanted to speak to you guys about a specific INFJ trait that an individual messaged me recently about. Gavin, I believe is his name. If I'm getting it wrong, I apologize. Anyways, an INFJ viewer messaged me and asked me a question about oversharing versus being too silent. And he said something like, I'm having a little bit of a difficult time. I either share too much, so I go into oversharing mode, or I'm too silent, right? And this frustration that he was feeling was absolutely something that I felt in the past and still do on a regular basis. This is something that I've been struggling with for a long time myself. This is the kind of contradiction, this pendulum that we go between oversharing and then being too silent. We go back and forth between these two modes of being, just like we go in between two modes of being too social or being not social enough or not social at all. Or being too loving and then being too mean, or not being loving at all. So we kind of go through these contradictions. We go back and forth as like a pendulum goes back and forth between two different extremes. We go back and forth between this oversharing versus being too silent. I wish I had like a magic formula for you guys to say, okay, this is what you should do. This is exactly how you should deal with the situation, but I really don't. So I'm just going to kind of speak about my own experience, and hopefully from that, I can gather a couple of things that I've done in the past in order to get over it. Now, the main thing with all of this is about self-awareness. You just need to become extremely conscious about your unconscious behaviors, because a lot of times when we're going into these oversharing modes, when we just kind of blather on without thinking about if the other person is ready for our conversation or ready for us to share this information about ourselves, what we're doing is basically we are in unconscious mode. We're not thinking about, oh, does this person actually want to hear it? Or oh, is this an appropriate time for it? Or, oh, is this actually something that I should be sharing right now? But we just kind of go into this unconscious mode where we're like, I just need to get this off my chest. I just need to speak right now. I have this insane desire to talk, and I'm just going to say whatever comes to my mind, whatever it might be, even if it's appropriate or inappropriate. I just need to get it out. And so we're sitting there and maybe surrounded by people or maybe one-on-one, and we're just talking on and on and on. And inside we can hear ourselves talking a lot, and inside we can hear ourselves say to ourselves, all right, stop it now. I talk to myself all the time, and I say to myself, Boom, you've been talking for a while now. I don't know what need you're trying to fulfill or what you're trying to cover up, or if you're feeling envious or jealous, or if you're feeling insecure, or if you're feeling fear, whatever you're feeling, I don't know exactly what's going on. We can process it later, but you need to shut up right now, right? And it's basically usually what the cause of it is. Either something happened that caused me to feel insecure, or something happened that caused me to feel like I wasn't in a safe space, or something happened that made me feel afraid. And in order to cover up all that emotion, and because I just didn't have time at that moment in time to deal with the emotion or to process it, you guys know how much we need time alone to do that. So in order to actually deal with it, instead of actually dealing with the emotion, which I didn't have time to do, I just started blabbering on about something nonsensical. And because we just can't talk about anything nonsensical, we start spilling our secrets, or we start talking about something that you're like, all right, why am I telling this person this? And this happened to me just a couple of days ago when I'm just sitting there talking, and I'm thinking to myself inwardly, I'm like, what is going on here? What are you trying to do here? Why are you telling this person? You just met him, he's a stranger. Don't do that. And usually people are pretty good about it. They'll listen to us and be like, all right, this person needs to talk, so let them talk. And very rare for us to speak, so if we're around people who don't actually usually listen or hear us speaking so much, they're like, oh, what is this? And most people, they want to be there for another individual when they need it. But a lot of times I will notice the person's face in front of me kind of change from interested to suspicious to fearful, where they're just sitting there thinking, okay, what am I doing here? Why is this person talking to me? And what should I do? How can I escape, right? As soon as I notice that, obviously I will get that signal and I will stop, hopefully. Sometimes I don't even get that signal and I'm still talking on and on and on and on, and I'm thinking to myself, all right, stop it now. Of course, the other motion or the other extreme that we go to is when we just don't say anything at all. And I think we kind of pendulate back and forth, as I said. So one day, if we had that mode where we were just oversharing and we're just talking too much, we just said so many things that were either secretive or they were things that we don't usually share, and we're feeling vulnerable and we're thinking to ourselves, all right, I'm never gonna do that again. And in order to prevent ourselves from doing that, in order to protect ourselves, in order to keep ourselves from harming ourselves, basically, in order to keep from spilling secrets or just going into that oversharing mode where we can't control our tongue, what we do is that we go to the other mode where we just don't say anything at all, because we're afraid that if we do open our mouth and we're just going to spill everything, that we're never going to be able to stop talking, then we're going to go into that oversharing mode where it's scary and vulnerable, and we just don't want to get into that, so we just keep our mouth shut. Unless someone asks us a question and it's something interesting to us or it's something that we're passionate about, and then boom, we're on it, we just start talking again, and we notice ourselves just again going into that mode where we're just chattering away and there's no way to stop us, right? I'm not saying we're always in these two modes. We are sometimes in the mode of listening, where we sit and listen to the person and we're able to converse with them, so we're able to give feedback or we're able to have a back and forth. So I'm not saying that INFJs are always terrible at conversation, but we do go into these oversharing versus silent modes a lot. And again, as I said, it's all about self-awareness. A lot of it just has to do with the mode of mind that you're in. Now, I notice for myself, as I said before, that I go into oversharing mode when I start suddenly feeling insecure. Something happens in my head and something triggers something in my head and causes me to feel vulnerable or unsafe, and I just start talking in order to cover that up. So I implore you guys to start noticing yourself. You know, when you go into these oversharing modes, instead of just hating yourself and calling yourself an idiot in your head, you know, notice yourself and notice your emotions and feelings. What's cropping up for you? What is it exactly that's causing you to go into this mode? There is something that's causing you to go into it. It's just not random. It might take a couple of tries at it to figure out exactly what it is, but you will figure it out, all right? And then once you do, then you know. And then maybe you can kind of work on it and figure out how to quell it. Nowadays, so in the past, I would overshare a lot because I got into these insecure, fearful modes a lot. But nowadays, it's not as common. It happens maybe once a month, I would say. Once every 2 weeks, really. Rarely. Actually, usually just once a month or something like that. So the self-awareness really does help, because I notice myself when I get into these fearful, anxious states, instead of over-talking or oversharing and trying to quell it that way, I know how else to deal with it, right? I know how to make myself a little bit more grounded. Maybe I'll eat a little bit of food, or maybe I'll take care of myself, do some self-care stuff, and while I'm chatting with this person, I'm taking care of myself. There's certain acupressure points you can use, the sides of your fingers, so just tapping them helps your sympathetic nervous system calm down. So I just kind of sit there and I'm just tapping the side of my hand, my fingers, all of the fingers, so just like every single finger, like the side of it, the edges of it, it's an acupressure point, helps you relax. So I just do that, or I'll just ground my feet and really relax into my body, really try to come into my body while we're having a conversation. I will really try to relax into my mind and really tell myself loving thoughts. So you'll be like, it's okay, everything's fine, you're not in danger, it's okay, Shika, it's okay, boom, things like that. And then for the silent mode, when I go into my silent mode, it's a protective mode as well. It's a self-defense mode where we're afraid that we're going to share too much, and so we kind of protect ourselves that way. Again, not a good thing, because I like to be in conversation mode. I don't want to talk too much, I don't want to talk too little. I want to be in a conversation where the other person shares something interesting and I share something interesting, or I reply to them, and then it's a back and forth. It has to be a volley, not a pendulum, but a tennis volley, back and forth. You have a conversation. So in silent mode, we're protecting ourselves. We're afraid that either the stuff we're going to say is going to be rejected, or the people around us are not going to understand us, or that they're going to understand us and think that we're crazy. So in that mode, what I've realized is that I can only control my own actions. I can't control any of the thoughts or actions or feelings or emotions of the people around me. It is impossible. You can't control it. Even if you're silent, they're still judging you, right? Especially if you're silent, they're especially judging you. And I've noticed that people judge me to be foolish or stupid or dumb or shy or whatever it might be whenever I'm too silent, and then they make fun of me for that. So they're still judging you, right? It's fine. It's better for them to judge you for something that you truly are rather than for something that you're not. Or maybe it doesn't really matter either way. But the fact is they are judging you either way, because that's what we do as human beings. That's just life. That's normal, yeah? And so in that regard, I'll just tell myself that I don't want to be in this mode. Either you leave because you're just not contributing to the conversation, as I've spoken in a previous video about. You're not doing anything to contribute to this conversation, so leave. Or actually start contributing and have a conversation with the person. Or that's the only two options really. If you're not going to contribute to it, if you're just going to be silent as a rock, and if you're just going to take energy away from the people around you, then what's the point of you being there? Just go away, go back to your cave, relax, recuperate. And if you're going to want to stay there, if you have to stay there, if you want to stay there, then contribute. Say something. Don't just sit there like a rock, right? Maybe a little bit too harsh, but hopefully this makes sense. These are some of the thoughts that I've had in the past about these situations exactly. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, and I'm still, as I said, dealing with it. I still have modes where I'm like, what am I doing here? Why can't I speak up? Why can't I say what's on my mind? And then I go into a mode where I'm just talking too much, and I'm thinking to myself, can you just please shut up? In my head, I'm thinking to myself. And so it's difficult, and it'll take a little bit of time, a lot of self-awareness, a lot of consciousness, a lot of patience with yourself, and also a lot of realizing, what's going on really within you. Because there's always something underneath all of this random stuff that we do. It's a self-defense mechanism. It's a unconscious mode that we go into, and we just have to realize it and then make it more conscious and be more aware of it and maybe change it, hopefully, because of that awareness. So hopefully this answers your question. If you have particular questions or further questions about this, comment below and I'll do a further video. And if you're interested in supporting me further, you can go to my Ko-fi link. It's in the description below. And I shall see you guys the next time around. Bye for now.